What are the top 5 most common home inspection findings when it comes to anything related to the exterior of a home in the Knoxville and East Tennessee area? In this video, I'm going to answer that question. Let's dive in and get going. What's up? It's me, Haley Jones, and today we are talking home inspections, and we're talking specifically exterior related issues. So think decking, think grading, think anything on the outside, the siding, anything outside exterior related to a home. Before we dive in, I just want to tell you that I'm not a contractor. I'm not a home inspector. I'm not a home inspector. Okay. I'm a real estate agent, and I help advise clients. When we get these home inspections on the buy side, what we do is if we need a second opinion, we go find the person that specializes in whatever that finding was, and we get a second opinion. On the sell side, sometimes we do that too. If we get a crazy list of repairs and you want to know, okay, is this real? Then you have someone come and look at it on your side. So as you're thinking about this video, if you're a seller, some of this is going to be helpful to you in the sense of you can be proactive. Are there things that I could take care of right now that I could avoid later on a home inspection finding? Could I get something fixed now that is not a huge issue, but would alleviate some grief down the line with the buyer? Something to think about. And it also kind of helps to inform things that you should be focused on or not as you are getting your home ready to market. As a buyer, this is really just letting you know, hey, what are some things I might anticipate could be found? And maybe as I'm looking at homes, I keep an eye out for these things and see, like, is this a problem? Is this something that, I would kill a deal for me? So just kind of being informed as you're looking at homes. It's like, yeah, you're looking to see if you like the house, but also too, is it going to, I don't like the term pass inspection because that's not really a thing. It's really you determine if it passes that inspection or not as a buyer. But that being said, this is going to inform you as a buyer to let you know, okay, maybe what are some things I should be looking for as I'm shopping around for a home. And also, is the stuff that comes up on my inspection report, like what could I expect to come up on an inspection report? So that being said, without further ado, the data here was compiled from 152 home inspections from my personal clients. We had over 250. That seemed a little bit of too much. So we stuck with a sample size of 152 home inspections in the Knoxville and East Tennessee area. Of those 152, exterior related items came up 891 times. Okay, so of the 152, there were 891 exterior related findings. Now, this top 5 list is the top 5 things that came up the most often. Oh my God. You know what I'm saying. Of the 891 findings, these top 5, this is the things that came up the most often. Okay, let's get going. Number 1, issues related to decks and porches, primarily structural and safety deficiencies. So this was things like deck framing is fashioned to the house with nails that they shouldn't be. It should be bolts or lag screws. So the deck is improperly connected to the home, and sometimes it's not even connected, or the inspector was not able to see if it was connected. Footers for vertical support posts are not visible, or they're on a loose block. So like where the support should stand, either there is no footer or it's not on a solid footer like it should be. Deck posts improperly fashioned at floor joists can twist or move. You can see this all the time, which this sounds bananas, but the number of times where you've seen the post for a deck just swing. Obviously that's not supporting the deck, okay? Because it's moving, it shouldn't be moving. Guardrails with openings larger than 4 inches. Guardrails are loose. Rail height is too short. So rails too wide, too short, not properly fastened. They move. They're not supportive. Things like that. Soils in contact with deck material. So this would be, for example, you'll see stair stringers that are sitting on the mud. probably that's going to deteriorate because that deck is wood, okay? So we don't want that. That's an example of that. Excessive bounce or lateral movement noted in deck. So this would be like if you're on a deck and it's like moving. I know you've been there. And I'm not saying because you had one too many margaritas. I'm saying when you go out there, it's moving and it shouldn't be, okay? So obviously that's an obvious one. Decks and porches come up so many times. And actually one of the inspectors that I work with quite often, the reason why he became a home inspector was because he purchased a home, he had the home inspection done, and nothing was said about the deck. Someone ended up falling through his deck because it was not properly done, okay? And then, you know, we can get into I don't want to get into like permitting and all this about decks, but I just want to say a lot of times they are not correctly installed, and I'll leave that there. Okay, so decking can be a major issue. So that's when you can when you go look at a house, especially like if say the deck's up high and you look up and you're like, you can see like rot. You can see like there's nothing supporting the deck when the posts are moving, the rails are moving, like all of that. Come on. I mean, this is obviously, to me, this is like, duh, of course it's number one. Anyways, let's move on. Number 2, this one, every time I see it, I'm going to be honest with you, it makes me want to poke my eyeballs out, okay? Because it happens all the time, okay? New construction, old homes, I mean, all the time. Grading, drainage, ponding, or retaining walls near foundation. So any issue related to the grading of the house, what's happening around. This happened so many times as we looked at these 891 exterior findings. These were common things that the inspector used to describe this. Landscape has a flat or potential ponding area near the foundation or a negative slope towards the house at the front, rear, right side, left side, whatever side. The yard is sloping towards the foundation, which means water's going towards the foundation, which means not good, right? Because your foundation, you need it to be solid, and if you get water intrusion over time, it's going to mess up your foundation, which means the whole house is going to fall in. Not literally, but you know what I'm saying. Again, flat or ponding areas near the foundation, incorrect grading. Erosion noted at the front porch, downspout, splash pads at the road, or they empty at the foundation. This goes back, if you've watched the roofing video that I made, similar finding about gutters emptying at the foundation or downspouts emptying at the foundation. We don't need it. It's going to cause a problem on the foundation. Retaining walls are leaning or built with rotting railroad ties. If you've got rotting railroad ties on a retaining wall and you're a seller, my suggestion is address that beforehand, because that's going to come up unless you're just like, you know, I mean, every house, it depends on the situation, depends on your goals in selling. But if this is something where you're like, everything else is pristine or you want top dollar, like this is something that needs to be addressed. Cracking retaining walls, you'll see leaning retaining walls. Either way, when you think about a retaining wall, it's meant to retain something. So if the retaining wall, all the time we see where a retaining wall is leaning towards like the driveway, which not great. But that also means like all that dirt it's holding up is pushing against it, which means there's movement, which is probably not good because it's supposed to be retaining something. Okay. So the long story short here, is that water that isn't carried away from the house is oftentimes something we see in these reports. So if you've got a negative slope to the house, that means the water is flowing towards the foundation. It's not being taken away from the home, which puts the home at risk for water intrusion, water problems, all the things related to water damage that water can do. And sometimes this could be as simple as you need to, just bring in some soil. Sometimes it means you need a French drain. It depends on how aggressive it is and what the slope is like and how much damage there is. So this one we see constantly. like probably, so there's 152 inspection reports, and I think probably on the 152 inspection reports, for every one of them, it was probably mentioned 3 times. Okay, not really, that's an exaggeration, but it was mentioned a lot. Okay, item number 3, exterior wall cladding issues. So this would be things like issues and damage to siding, anything that's around the outside, vinyl siding, brick, etc. Exterior wall coming indentations and gaps not sealed. So this is like where you have like a window seal, and then the brick comes or whatever comes, and there's gapping there. Where either animals can get in, water intrusion once again, cracks in masonry, mortar joints. You see this often where there's cracking in the joints of your mortar on your bricks. This is also like common settlement cracks at the bricks. Vinyl siding, with damage at one or more areas, panels popped out or buckling. A lot of times we will see vinyl siding where, like it says, it's popped out. Buckling, sometimes you often see that where there's been a grill involved, where it's like warped, and or there's been some movement and like the vinyl siding is like popping off, like buckling off the side of the house. Siding material is too close and or touching soil, siding material is too close to or touching soil, mulch, or driveways. This kind of depends on like what is the actual material, because sometimes like if it's brick, it's a brick house, it's all the way down, like it's the foundation's brick, then that's fine. But if you've got like some wood siding, like a cedar siding, touching the soil, not bueno. OSB sheathing is exposed, so that would be your sheathing behind like your vinyl. That's going to rot. Water's going to get in there. It should not be exposed. It should be completely covered. Steel lintel supporting rock brick noted with rust or deterioration. So this is a support that you'll see. Specifically, sometimes you'll see where like the HVAC, like if you're in a crawl space, you'll see the HVAC ducting is going out to the HVAC system outside, and then you'll see like either it's just block and there's no support. So this is often, I've seen this issue where there's no lintel at all before. So any issues with siding, a huge thing we see with vinyl siding is where somebody's weed eaten, they've weed eaten the yard, okay? And a rock, boom, has gone right through and cracked or put a hole in the vinyl siding. You see this a lot of times at the bottom, around the outside of the house. And even maybe the weed eater has like gone through and hit it. Sometimes you'll see it's like all the way down. Someone wasn't paying attention or they didn't care. If you're a seller with vinyl siding, there's like you can, if it's along the bottom, you could get new siding. You can also seal it. Like there's some options, but that to me is one that is going to come up. Like if you've got cracks or holes in your siding, it's going to come up. If your brick has stair stepping, sometimes not crazy, but if your brick has stair stepping and you're starting to see this like separation either way, probably not good. So could be something you want to get addressed, want to get checked out. Just saying. It depends on the house. It depends on the situation. Just know that if that exists, someone's going to notice it exists and they're going to ask. So it's to your discretion whether that's something you address or not. Okay, number 4. Vegetation and trees are too close to, they're touching the house or they're touching power lines. Now, some people are going to be shocked that the trees in the yard are touching the power lines. This is so common, and I'm telling you right now that those power lines, it probably is what it is. For the most part, depending on who the utility board is, I'm not trying to be rude, they're just going to say sorry about your life. Now, you could go cut those things off of the power lines, but obviously be very careful. You know what I'm saying. This is super common. If you see that, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying this is extremely common. Now, why does it matter if like your vegetation is touching the part of the house? Well, vegetation like bushes, etc. They suck in moisture, but also if they're just up against the house, then that's going to deteriorate the side of the house. You're going to have water issues. You're going to have deterioration of that siding over time, which you don't want, right? So, this is going to cause a moisture and or pest problem depending on what exactly is touching the house. The specific language that the inspectors use: vegetation touching house needs trimming or removal. Vegetation is close to and or touching the house. Trees or limbs are close to or over house or power lines. Recommended professional trim or remove. One or more trees are too close to the foundation. Potential root damage. Now that's an interesting one, because as a seller, you would read that as like potential root damage. Well, there is no root damage. Like if there's no root damage, there's no root damage. As a buyer, you are trying to think, is this going to potentially be a problem? And so when you get something that's kind of like gray, that's when you might want to have a second opinion. You might want to have somebody come in and look at, where are the roots? Are they growing into the house, towards the house? Like, is that a problem? I've had one foundation issue where it was very clear that like the tree roots were into the foundation. And that's one out of, there's more than 150 home inspections, as I mentioned, we could pull from. That was one out of like 250. So you can see like this is more of the potential of something than actually it was a problem. Vegetation appears to be growing out of a crack in the foundation wall. That's not a good sign. You don't want vegetation growing out of a crack in your foundation wall, because that means water's getting in there and things can grow. And that means your foundation is deteriorating. Okay, number 5. Driveways, sidewalks, and patios with settlement, cracking, and or trip hazards. This is things like cracks in the exterior driveway, which are just typical settling, seal and monitor. Not a huge deal. Driveway settlement cracks with raised edges. This is a trip hazard. Significant settlement at the sidewalk, driveway steps. Trip hazard. The driveway front sidewalk appears to have a negative slope towards the house or garage. Concrete slab or front porch has settled. Masonry porch steps have settled and pulled away. Okay. Settlement cracks, you're going to see them quite often. You will even see, when you go through a final walkthrough or home orientation at a new construction home, you will see hairline cracks through the concrete. Now there's like a specific millimeter, inch, centimeter, or whatever, that it's like, that's not a problem. And the builder, they've got that on lock. Like you'll be like, this is cracked, and they'll be like, well, it's the hairline, blah, blah, blah. When it's a concern is when it's like you can't walk. You got to focus to walk across the concrete. That's probably a problem. Obviously, anytime it's not level or flat, it's a trip hazard. So that is something you just keep in mind. It is quite often you're going to see cracked concrete. Now, again, when is it a problem? Well, it's going to be obvious. You're going to see, especially we have, homes that are built up. So sometimes you'll see like a driveway on the back end is like, she's going down the hill, honey. Probably not great, because that's going to continue to deteriorate. That's one that we see often. I have had some clients that have had like a pump jack come and they put the stuff in there and like jack it back up. Concrete slab from the front porch has settled. See this all the time. Brick steps, concrete steps that are going up to the porch, you will see pulling away. You'll also see the steps kind of like, they're leaning. Eventually, that's going to become more of a problem, and those steps are not going to be usable. So again, as a buyer, it's to your discretion what you're comfortable with. As a seller, I've had people get quotes upwards of $20,000 to fix settlement issues that are related to the front porch. Now, as you're thinking about this, something to keep in mind, I'm not a structural engineer. This is just my way of thinking through this. Is, for example, that $20,000 quote did not have anything to do with the actual house. It was like house, you had your house here, you had your front porch, which was solid concrete brick, and then you had some brick steps. these brick steps are not related to the foundation of the home. So how big of an investment do you want to make? Does it make more sense just to rip the brick out, put wood steps? Do you want to rebuild the brick and concrete? Like, what's the most cost effective? Now, it'd be different if it was like your whole foundation is cracking down off the steps, but they're not the same system. They're not the same structure. Like, they're part of the exterior of the home. But these steps that are like questionable, they're not, like, the foundation's solid. So just something to keep in mind. And again, this is all stuff that we work through as we're going through inspection. On the sell side and on the buy side. On the sell side, we get the repair request, we work through it. On the buy side, same thing. We get the repair request, we have second opinions as we need. Sometimes, again, on the sell side, if a buyer asks for something that the seller thinks is like, this is dumb, I'm getting a second opinion, they'll get someone else to also come out. So, we work through the process to be informed. And on either end, it's, can I live with this problem or not? And if I cannot live with this problem, what needs to happen in order for me to live with that problem? And then if I do everything on my end to work through this and this is not going to work, then we move on. We move on, buy or sell side. So anyways, those are your top 5 biggest exterior inspection issues based on 152 home inspections in the Knoxville and East Tennessee area over the past several years. So if you want to know, like, hey, what's happening? Those are the things on the exterior you can look for. Deck and structural, huge. We talked about negative grading. Where's the water going? Water should be going away from the house. We talked about how that's related to retaining walls. What's happening with your siding, whether that's brick, whether that's wood, whether that's vinyl, stone. Sometimes you'll see stone is loose, it's falling. No bueno, right? Number 4 was vegetation that's too close to the house and or touching your power poles and power lines. And then number 5 was driveways or sidewalk settlement. Sometimes, and the most often reason why they say that is like, hey, that's a trip hazard. But that doesn't necessarily mean you need to replace the whole driveway. Come on. Now, sometimes though, it's telling you the driveway is like falling off the side of the cliff, which is a bigger issue, right? So anyways, that being said, I hope this has been helpful. Go check out the other home inspection related top 5 most common findings to inform you as a seller and as a home buyer. So I hope this has been helpful. As always, if you need a real estate agent, I would love to help you. Call me, text me, send me an email. I got you. That being said, I'm Haley Jones, and click subscribe because I got so much more to talk to you about. And I'll see you on the next video.